Who are they talking about? Wow, those are pretty humbling words. First of all, thank you to CAS for this recognition, and special thanks to Karen Rector for all her coordination and attention to all the details. Karen, thank you very much. I have a question for you. How often have you been at a party or a get-together when someone asks you the question, what do you do? It's always an interesting reaction when I tell them, I'm a middle school principal. Sometimes they laugh. Oftentimes they tell me a story recounting when they were in middle school. But almost always they finish by saying, God bless you for working with those middle school kids. But I see it just as that, as a blessing and not a curse. I've been around a long time, and now I've met parents who say, hello, Mr. Pearson? And I know I've met them before as a middle schooler. Recently, I met a father of an incoming 7th grader at my school, and soon after I saw him, he said, hello, Mr. Pearson? And I flashed back 15 years ago. Let me bring you back. It was 15 years ago when I was the assistant principal at Timothy Edwards Middle School, and this student was in the cafeteria, and the cafeteria was bigger than this room. There were 400 kids. And these two boys come scampering up to me, and they say, Mr. Pearson, that boy over there has dirty pictures from National Geographic. So I say, you tell that boy I'm going to talk to him. So I start walking, and it's a good distance away, and I get closer and closer. His eyes get big as saucers. And the closer I get, the more nervous he gets. And he's got this piece of paper in his hand, and he grabs his milk, and as I get close, he grabs that paper, and he eats the paper in front of me. I have to leave the cafeteria because I'm laughing so hard. And I never actually talked to him about that. I figured lesson learned, don't you think? Now, 15 years later, that same curious young adolescent boy was standing in front of me in my office just a couple weeks ago as a good dad, making sure his 7th grade daughter was settling in okay and growing as a student. In the end, you hope you have a positive impact on their lives. You know they have a positive influence on yours. After over 30 years of being a teacher and a principal, I can honestly say that I'm more excited to go to school now than I ever have in my entire career. And often I wonder, why is that? Well, I think in part it's because some of the people in the room, this very room right now. I am so fortunate. I am so fortunate to work at the Ellington Public Schools. I'd like to thank and acknowledge Scott Nickel, superintendent of school, who nominated me for this honor, who has really allowed me to participate in a thoughtful, dynamic leadership team. Dan, Trudy, Jen, who've been my friends, advisors on this journey. I'd like to extend a special thanks to Erin McGirt, who's been my book buddy and my critical friend over the years. The Ellington Board of Ed members, Dan, Tracy, Gary, I've come to know them as community leaders who are truly courageous and willing enough to support progressive ideas, maybe even a little controversial, such as mastery learning, de-leveling, and who are never satisfied with the status quo. Okay, can I brag about my school a little bit? I work with an amazing group of teachers who've been willing to take a leap of faith to become a community of learners. They share their enthusiasm with their students, and in doing so, have just created a wonderful place for kids to learn. Thank you, Mary, for being here. Prior to Ellington, I had been fortunate enough to have people who've mentored and believed in me. Dr. Joseph Wood, as the first superintendent to believe in me enough to actually hire me as a leader. Jack Giordano, who was actually on that Board of Ed 12 years ago. And I hope he said yes when they voted on my appointment. Did they, Jack? Thank goodness. Jack, a retired principal himself, is now my golf partner. And he's my early morning breakfast educational consultant at the timeless Chuck Wagon restaurant. Joe and Jack, thank you for your early belief in me and your ongoing mentorship and friendship. In education, we pride ourselves in being lifelong learners. I've had a good fortune of having some great friends with whom I've learned along the way. Being in my days as a grad student at UConn, to my time teaching in Granby, or currently in my administrative career, their friendship and our history together is at the heart of my life in education. You can find us solving challenges of today's schools at UConn tailgating parties, Saturday in the rain, or sharing breakfast on a weekend morning. Greg, Lori, Jack, Ron, Mike, thank you for being here. Finally, the people at the last table, my family. I'd like to thank the person in the room who's known me the longest, who was there for my first go-around in middle school, my brother Bill. Bill, thank you for being my big brother, modeling life's lessons for as long as I can remember. Okay, true confession. I do want to say I'm sorry for all those times I shot you with that BB gun. Thank you to our friends Patty and Craig, who have been there almost as long, and I feel like our family. My three daughters, Katie, Emily, and Carolyn, who grew up at the dinner table discussing school, who have had, to my great pride, followed in the family business. All in education, all working with kids, all making their world a better place. And finally, my wife, Maureen. Who would have thought on my first day of my career on January 4th, 1983, I would walk into the main office of the tiny Sydney Elementary School, and the first person I met would be the person whom I would spend the rest of my life with. A Boston College graduate who took a chance and ended up in this one traffic light town in remote upstate New York. You talk about fate. While I'm a big believer in second chances, I'm also a believer in love at first sight. Maureen, thank you for sharing your life with me. Your incredible patience when I'm unreasonable, which unfortunately is way too often, and especially when you're frustrating me and not shooting me with a BB gun. I love you. To my fellow recipients this evening, it's an honor to share the spotlight with you. Congratulations. You know how meaningful and challenging our work can be, and I commend you for your well-deserved recognition. Finally, I leave you all with a quote by Carol Dweck. People who work with me probably aren't surprised right now. A researcher, author of Mindset, and who inspired so much of our work at EMS. She writes, if parents want to give their children a gift, the best thing they can do is to teach their children to love challenges, be intrigued by mistakes, enjoy effort, and keep on learning. That way, their children don't have to be slaves of praise. They will have a lifelong way to build and repair their own confidence. So I look forward to going to school tomorrow, to the best job in the world, being a middle school principal. I am truly blessed. Thank you for this honor.